But this is embarrassing. The man eating himself out of a job.
He hasn't shown that he's disciplined enough to take care of himself physically yet.
Back in 2019, the New Orleans Pelicans had merely a 6% chance of securing the top overall draft pick. And when they struck gold, it wasn't solely the organization rejoicing. The entire city of New Orleans burst into celebration, welcoming the player they thought would become the future of the franchise. This athlete had the agility and finesse of a guard combined with the size and power of a center and was being hailed as the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal. Zion Williamson wasn't merely a prospect. He was the standout prospect of the decade. How high could he soar? Fast forward nearly 6 years, and this is how people perceive him now. It's embarrassing the man is eating himself out of a job. He hasn't demonstrated the discipline needed to maintain his physical health. Instead, he is taking money without earning it. What went wrong? Why does Zion Williamson embody everything troubling about the NBA? The million-dollar question is, what can be done about this concerning trend? Observing Zion Williamson today has turned into a joke, and NBA fans have increasingly lost interest in the league and are openly voicing their discontent online.
He is stealing money. He is stealing money.
I've seen plenty of basketball, and the NBA, it simply isn't enjoyable. The statistics confirm this narrative. Viewership is declining, and the disconnection is tangible. One significant factor is the nonchalant attitude towards winning that's infiltrating the league. Fans can sense it, and it's alienating them. When asked about this issue, All-Star Bradley Beal noted in a recent interview that many younger players appear to prioritize their salaries over achieving victories. When it's the 1st and 15 like you're entering the building prepared for a loss, this video mainly centers on Zion Williamson, but the reality is, he's far from the sole instance of a player who appears to have lost interest in winning. There are many other athletes.
When is the 1st and 15? Like you're walking into the building ready to lose.
I could discuss, but when analyzing Zion's journey from 2019 to now, he embodies everything fans find frustrating about current NBA players. Here's a perfect illustration of my point. Klay Thompson endured a major knee injury in 2019, only to encounter another horrible setback when he tore his Achilles during a pickup game. These injuries are serious enough to potentially conclude careers, yet Klay made his return in 2022 at 31 years old and has since played 24 games. Meanwhile, Zion Williamson, who is now 24, joined the league in 2019 as a highly touted 19-year-old rookie. But to this day, he's participated in merely 193 games. It's astonishing for a young player picked at 19 to have fewer games than an experienced player after recovering from 2 significant leg injuries. I mean, the guy has missed 190 games in 5 seasons. 190 games if Zion were truly doing everything possible to remain healthy but still faced injuries, like Derrick Rose, who pushed himself to the brink during his MVP-level days and ultimately damaged his knees, or Brandon Roy, whose career was cut short by a degenerative knee condition. Under different circumstances.
I mean, Ocho, the guy's missed 190 games in 5 seasons. 190 games?
It would be an entirely different narrative, but Zion's injuries are primarily linked to his weight challenges, stemming from his difficulty in managing his eating habits. Is it tough to stick to a diet at your age? Well, I'll be honest, since it's you, there are definitely times when I feel like, wow, that's tough. It really is. It seems he cares more about food than his NBA career. Zion's eating habits spiraled so much that the Pelicans had to add a weight clause to his contract. Let that sink in. After 2 decades of following the NBA, I've never seen a team impose weight requirements on a player.
If they win 5 games in a row and he averages 35 points a game, how much does he get?
Player's deal. Sure, the Miami Heat historically insisted that all players maintain 8% body fat or less, but that applies to the whole team, not just one individual, especially not someone who is meant to be the franchise's cornerstone. This situation highlights a concerning trend in the NBA where some players appear to lack accountability. Regardless of wins or losses, they continue earning millions. If he wins 5 consecutive games and averages 35 points per game, how much does he make? Same salary, $5.5 million. Conversely, if he loses 5 games in a row and performs poorly each time, how much does he get? $500,000. Again, looking at Zion, he's set to earn $36 million this
It's hard, man.
season. However, out of 42 possible games, he's only played 9, and it gets crazier. He has won just 3 of those 9. The player has essentially pocketed around $18 million, essentially half a season's
And he's a bum every single game. How much does he get?
$500,000.
salary. For just 3 disappointing victories, he is essentially stealing money. He is embezzling money. Zion recently came back from injury and executed an eye-catching 360 windmill dunk, which was indeed a standout moment. However, fans felt a wave of frustration. Time and again, when stars encounter intense scrutiny, they respond with an exceptional performance or showcase flashy off-season workout videos to intrigue the fans and restore goodwill with both the supporters and the franchise. Yet this time, people were not buying it. They had witnessed this routine before. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Additionally, there is this remark that encapsulates Zion's 6-year journey thus far. We've observed this scenario numerous times, where he makes an incredible athletic move upon returning only to...
You miss half the time that you've been in the NBA, and you think that's okay? You think you can force your way out by moping, by pouting, missing all this time, showing up late.
to be sidelined 2 months later. Interestingly, it didn't even take that long. Shortly after that highlight, Zion was tardy for a team flight and received a suspension from his team. Let's not ignore that this incident followed his absence from 27 games. How do you inconvenience your team after already missing around 80% of the season? You've been unavailable for half of your time in the NBA, and you believe that's acceptable? You think you can maneuver your way out by sulking, pouting, and being late? What's even more comical is that after stalling and impeding the team's development for nearly 5 years and following their efforts to build a roster around Zion, he has the nerve to ask for a trade, stating no longer wants to be part of the New Orleans Pelicans, who are currently facing a significant crisis. Their star player, Zion Williamson, is eager to leave New Orleans. A major reason these situations arise in the NBA is due to the players' contracts. NBA athletes earn such high salaries that it leaves little incentive for them to consistently perform once their financial security is established. For many, the drive to compete diminishes. Consider Conor McGregor in the UFC. After his $100 million payday against Mayweather, he essentially retired. Do you believe that $100 million changed Conor? Does he still possess the motivation to train, fight, and face pain like when he was struggling? It's inevitable that some affects you. The reality in the NBA is that signing a lucrative contract often feels like victory for many, and for players like Zion, the urge to win games or pursue championships frequently fades after that. Occasionally, they may put on a show to feign interest, but the truth is clear, they simply don't care enough. This trend is harmful to the league as a whole, but here's a possible solution. What if only half of a player's salary was guaranteed, with the other half contingent on performance, such as making the playoffs or linked to a per-win basis? Just imagine how much harder NBA players and stars would strive to compete. If each game had a prize of $100,000 or even $500,000 at stake, would players go all out on defense? Would they still manage their loads? Would they continue to shoot three-pointers? Would players like Zion focus on getting into peak condition to maximize their earnings? With a system like this, every game would include inherent incentives, leading to a much more captivating experience for fans. To be clear, I'm not suggesting that NBA players should earn less. Their earnings are their concern, and I respect that. However, the reality is that the existing system fosters an environment with minimal motivation for players to exert consistent effort, which is a genuine business concern. If no modifications occur, an increasing number of players may start exploiting the system, caring less about their performance, and ultimately diminishing the league's quality. Looking beyond Zion, it's evident that other superstars are already exhibiting similar behaviors. In 2019, Ben Simmons signed a 5-year, $177 million contract as an all-star and an all-NBA talent, lauded as the next LeBron James poised for championships. Yet, the stark truth is that his contract became his trophy since he has largely faded from prominence. For instance, despite years of media attention on his lack of a jump shot, Ben Simmons has failed to cultivate a dependable mid-range game, an enhancement that, given his size and skills, could have elevated him to elite player status in the league. Instead, he seems satisfied collecting hefty paychecks while spending a lot of time on the sidelines, occasionally grabbing headlines more for his Willy Wonka-inspired attire. Paul George demonstrates this as well. After departing from the Clippers due to contract disputes, he signed a maximum deal with the Sixers, which pays him $50 million annually at 34 years old. Since then, he has registered some of the weakest stats of his career and appears to dedicate more time to podcasting than playing. They mentioned that Paul George has more podcast episodes than games played at this moment. That's absurd. That should speak volumes. Too many players seem indifferent about winning, and it becomes painfully clear when you listen to their statements or examine the behavior of some of the league's top stars. To be fair, not every player is like this. Some still arrive daily, work hard, and play passionately. Steve, Giannis, and Jokic are examples that quickly come to mind. However, the reality is that these players appear to be in the minority, while the increasing trend of players landing enormous contracts and then coasting is becoming more and more prevalent, making the NBA less attractive to fans. If the league wishes to regain its greatness and enhance its business, it must tackle and rectify the loopholes that players like Zion and others exploit. On another note, have you seen who puts in more effort than 90% of the NBA? An undrafted 5'8" player fighting every game to keep his career alive. Honestly, he's electrifying, and I'd prefer watching him over half the league any day. If you're curious about why, check out this video where I analyze just how remarkable this player really is.